There you see Jen Psaki. Jen, I don't know if you wore that yellow on purpose or if it was just a coincidence.
Lemon yellow. I love yellow, but now I'm going to tell you it's in honor of lemon, Con Lemon with lemon yellow. Exactly.
Thank you, Jen. I really appreciate it. Thanks for joining. You are amazing. I'm getting over a cold, and I'm watching you last night, and I was very emotional all day about what happened because, as you know, I've covered so many of these, as have you. And it took me back to the worst story that I've ever covered when anyone asks, and that's Newtown.
Yeah.
And so when I saw you being so emotional, I waited. I didn't want to send it to you last night, but I sent it this morning, and I just thought that you were human and real, and that's what we should be in this moment. I'll play a little bit of it, and then we'll discuss. Here it is.
I have been thinking, as I'm sure everybody who has consumed this today has been doing as well, about my kids who happen to be about the same ages as the two who were killed, about sending them off to school this morning. I've been thinking about their friends and their teachers, about all of the parents, about all of the grandparents out there navigating the return to school. And all they should be hoping to do is have someone to sit with at lunch or someone to play with on the playground. And they should be waiting to hear an update when they get home. And that is not what these parents at this school experience today. Sorry, this is a tough one. Having your child killed while they are sitting in a pew for a morning prayer service is not what any parent should have to worry about. And I have felt a mixture of anger and a lot of anger and emotional exhaustion about this today, as I'm sure many of you have, because we have been here so many times. And yet again, like clockwork, half of the politicians in our country have little more to offer than thoughts and prayers. That is all they are offering. Join all of us in praying for the victims, was Vice President J.D. Vance's response today. That's what he said. That's it. Please join me in praying for everyone involved, Trump wrote. We have seen this play out over and over again. There is a shooting, then come the...
Went into the whole thing about how often it happens, and we know way too often. First, what are you thinking as you watch that? You're getting emotional again.
I know. Just like you, I think, and I obviously lived for 20 years in politics and working in government, when it is different from what you did for a long period of time, which was be present in Newtown and be present at the place of these shootings and talk to the families. But it is so devastating sitting in a White House or sitting in a congressional office or sitting really anywhere in this country and seeing this happen and feel so outraged that despite the fact that the overwhelming majority of the country, and this is not a political thing at all, wants there to be more restrictions, more sensible gun safety laws, bans on assault weapons, and background checks, that our political system does not allow it to happen. And it is just an example of it being broken. I have kids now, but it doesn't require having kids. It requires just having a heart and humanity and knowing anyone in any community. It's not just happening at schools, it's happening in neighborhoods, it's happening on street corners. And I don't want to state that either, but yeah, watching it, it is, as I said last night, it is thinking about my kids, but thinking about their friends and thinking about all of the kids and all of the parents and all of the grandparents and every community who just sits and worries about the impact that guns are going to have on their lives. And that is why I feel just and continue to feel outrage and sadness and a lot of emotions about it.
Do you remember Newtown? Were you with the Obama administration during Newtown when he made?
I had worked on the re-election campaign for President Obama, and so I was not in the White House at the time. But by that point, I had worked for him for 6 years, and knew him well enough at the time to know. He's a pretty, as you know, you covered him for a long time, stoic, right? Yeah. Sometimes was even criticized for how stoic he was. And the thing that got into his soul, which gets into so many of our souls, is when something impacts kids. And that day, you remember, I'm sure I do so well, watching. And I wasn't there, but I was watching as tears were coming down his face. And it was such a rarity for him, because I think he felt that being calm for the country was what he needed to present, even in moments of crisis. But it's like you can't control yourself in moments like this.
Jen, and once again, I really appreciate you coming on. This is the first place that you came after this happened. This is the first appearance that we're getting. And so I hate to play some of these things for you, but I want you to be able to respond to them real time. Sure. Because I think it's important, because I understand exactly what you were saying when you talked about that. You were saying it's not enough, not that people should not pray. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's what I think any normal thinking person would understand that. Mm-hmm. This is the first attack that I saw come to you yesterday.
Former Biden White House press secretary circle back Jen Psaki trying to pin the blame on Donald Trump with a bizarre tweet citing his efforts to crack down on crime in D.C., which, by the way, for the record, circle back, he has been enormously successful in doing. She wrote, quote, when kids are getting shot in their pews at a Catholic school mass and your crime plan is to have National Guard put mulch down around D.C., maybe rethink your strategy. No, they've been stopping the murder rate, the homicide. We went 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks without a single murder. They usually have 3.6 a week. Maybe somebody at MSDNC can open a book, learn something about AI, do a little bit of research instead of just peddling lies and conspiracy theories. What about the dozens of the school shootings that have taken place, by the way?
What do you think of that, Jen?
Look, first of all, this is definitely not about Sean Hannity. It's not about Caroline Levitt. It's not about Benny Johnson, J.D. Vance. There's a long list of people who have decided to attack me when what I was saying is, first of all, prayers are so important and so valuable to so many people around the world in moments of tragedy and moments of heartache. They're important to me too, but they are not a public policy and they don't solve crises. And I think the gun violence epidemic in our country is a crisis. So it's quite telling to me when a range of people are using their platforms to attack me, of all people. I'm just a host of a television show, instead of talking about solutions and what can be done to save our kids, to protect communities, to do more to prevent this from happening in the future.
Again, I had to play this because I want you to respond. And then came Caroline Levitt.
I have two questions for you. Sure. Democrats, including former White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, attacked prayer and pushed gun control in the aftermath of yesterday's shooting. What's the White House's response to their comments?
Yes, I saw the comments of my predecessor, Ms. Psaki, and frankly, I think they're incredibly insensitive and disrespectful to the tens of millions of Americans of faith across this country who believe in the power of prayer, who believe that prayer works, and who believe that in a time of mourning like this, when beautiful young children were killed while praying in a church, it's utterly disrespectful to deride the power of prayer in this country, and it's disrespectful to the millions of Americans of faith. And I would encourage Ms. Psaki to pray for these families themselves who need it right now more than ever.
Jen?
I mean, again, it really doesn't matter who it's coming from. It's very similar. Prayer is a very powerful source of comfort to millions of people around the world. I recognize that. I value prayer myself. But the point is, and I will continue to raise this, it's not enough. It is not solving the gun violence epidemic in our country. And I will not stop raising that, because I think that is a key point people need to understand. And it is not protecting these kids. And the issue here is the guns. There are more guns in this country than there are people. There have been, and I looked this up because I think you follow this stuff. I mean, this is the 5th school shooting since August 1st. Right. Since August 1st. And that's when schools reopen. This is the 57th school shooting this year. That is a crisis. So when people are using, who have positions of power, their platforms to attack me, instead of talking about what they could do, what they should do, what should be done to solve it, that to me is what's disappointing.
Jen, I want to put up what you tweeted and show the audience, and then, because basically that's what you said. What you said, prayers are not enough. Prayer is not freaking enough. Prayer does not end school shootings. Prayers do not make parents feel safe sending their kids to school. Prayer does not bring these kids back. Enough with the thoughts and prayers. I totally understand and I agree 100%. And then the vice president got in on it. and responded saying, "We pray because our hearts are broken. We pray because we know God listens. We pray because we know that God works in mysterious ways and can inspire us in future action." And then he said, "Why do you feel the need to attack other people for praying when kids were just killed?" And praying or something. And then he says, "Of all the weird left-wing culture wars in the last few years, this is by far the most bizarre. How dare you pray for innocent people in the midst of a tragedy? What are you even talking about?" I don't think, can he read? Isn't he an Ivy League graduate?
I have no idea what that all is a reference to. I mean, as I've said, I think prayer, and you just gave the context of this, prayer is incredibly powerful. I mean, I grew up going to church every Sunday. I have a sister who's an ordained Unitarian minister. My mother-in-law goes to Catholic church every day. I see how much prayer is powerful in people's lives.
And
It's
Jen,
not
we talked
about
about
that.
this.
It's about the fact that you have a platform. You're the vice president of the United States. You can do something to address what is an epidemic and a crisis that is addressing kids in our lives.
Yeah.
Instead, you're taking time to attack me,
Yeah.
which is quite telling. And I also think, Don, and you may have seen some of this, but I thought this was quite telling too. There was this, did you see this statement of the Archbishop of Chicago? Here's part of what he said. He said, "Tragically, we know no place or time when Americans, even children, are safe from the curse of gun violence. And we join our prayers with others that those injured in body and spirit will head and that the murdered children will be received into heaven. We must also cry out for action to prevent even one more such tragedy." The point is this: prayers are comforting to people. They're a form of solace. They are not solving the crisis that we're living in. And if you're in a position of power, you have a responsibility to do more.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to go one beyond that, and I'm going to put this one up because this is from Pope Leo. Okay.
Mm.
Now, this was before he was Pope, but this was in 2017. And he says, to my colleagues, your cowardice act cannot be whitewashed. This is what he responded to. Be whitewashed by thoughts and prayers. None of this ends unless we do something to stop it. And then let's see, what was it before? This was after 2017 Las Vegas shooting. Pope Leo retweeted this from Senator Chris Murphy: "Your cowardice to act cannot be whitewashed by your thoughts and prayers."
Mm-hmm.
And so and they're supposed to be people of faith and Christians. You just told me your history and that you're a believer. As you know, I came on your show no more than maybe not quite a year ago to discuss my book on search for God in America. I once was lost. To talk about my faith. And as a person of faith, I am not offended by anything you said. And I think most people, if you are a Christian person and a believer, you would want to save the lives of children.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't understand how some people can be so warped by their own ideology, or maybe their sycophancy of Donald Trump. I don't know what it is, or the NRA, but I really can't explain it. You've been working in politics. I'm just a journalist, so maybe you can help me understand this or help the viewer.
I wish I had an explanation that made much sense. But I think sometimes when you don't want to talk about the solutions, you don't want to talk about the solutions. And there have been powerful forces. They mentioned one of them, the NRA, although they've been hit some weak points as of late. They've long time been massive donors to a range of politicians, most of them Republicans. I think they continue to have a hold. But why is it, this is one of the issues where there's such a massive disconnect, right, between where the public is, where the people are, who are not all registered Democrats, who are independents, who are Republicans. They have to be, by just the sheer numbers of people who support things like an assault weapons ban and background checks and red flag laws. And there are so many things that can be done that are sensible. I'm also a believer, and I talked about this last night, and you've covered so many of these. I mean, there are times when nothing happens, and that is maddening, no question. After the Tennessee shooting at the school, nothing happened. But 3 years ago, when there was the shooting at the Buffalo supermarket, and followed by Uvalde, something did happen in 43 days. And a number of Republican senators voted for the package. Was it perfect? It was not perfect. But that only came because the families and the communities put pressure on politicians to do something. And that's when something happens. So that's what gives me like any dose of hope in moments like this.
I want to put this up. It's from Don Jr. And the reason I'm putting it up is because I know that you have been a big advocate. I remember your monologue on your show about that Democrats should not throw trans people under the bus after the 2024 election. Don Jr. says, it's almost like the guns aren't the problem. Oh, and Madison, Wisconsin shooter last year was trans as well. And then he puts up all of these things about the Denver shooter, blah, 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 and just on and on and on. There are lots of lies in there. Walter
Yeah,
Master.
no, it's not even accurate, but like
Not
we
even
don't,
accurate,
yes.
right? And so I want to put this up, and then I'm going to get your response to it. This is from Walter Master. They break down the mass shooter: straight males, 98%; straight white male, 57%; trans, 13%. So he's lying to people and demonizing transgender people. Your response?
I mean, I don't think anyone is suggesting that there should be a rally against straight white males, even though they're 98%, right? Of these.
0.13. I said 13. It's 0.13. I'm sorry. But go.
0.13.
Yeah.
You know, I think the thing is there are trans people all over the world, right? There are there's mental illness all over the world. We should do more to address mental illness. And unquestionably, there are a number of people, including, it sounds like the shooter from yesterday, who are struggling with mental illness. But the place where there is an epidemic is the United States, because there are more guns, and it is the guns. So I think any of these things are targeting communities for the purpose of targeting communities and changing the subject. This was one person who did it. This wasn't a community who did anything yesterday. It was one person. And it's more about discussing and talking about why that person had access to a tool of death that allowed them to shoot through the stained glass windows of a church during a morning church service with kids.
Are you going to address tonight?
I will. Stay tuned.
You will. No preview. And I'm not going to ask you, you'll just have to watch Jen's show. But Jen,
I still have to write everything down. It's only 5:20. You know how this goes.
Yeah, I know you'll be writing right up to showtime. One thing, if he would come on your show, would you interview him about this?
Who? Donald Trump?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No. Why not?
And you may, and that's your choice. I'm just not interested in platforming somebody who lies constantly. I'm not afraid of having tough conversations or conversations with people I disagree with. I've had plenty of people, Republicans, others, Democrats I disagree with on the show, but I think this deserves so much more than gaslighting. But that's my gut reaction right now.
Yeah. If he called you up, would you take his call? And if so, what would you ask him? What would you say to him?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that, Don. I feel like there's so much damage that he and this administration have done. I would really have to spend some time thinking about where I would even start.
It's a very, very fair answer. Jen, thank you. By the way,
thank you, Don.
As from one anchor person to another, and I know that how long have you been doing it? About a year? You're in prime time.
2.5. Come on.
No, you had the show on the weekend, but I meant the prime time show.
Oh, 3 months.
Yeah. Excuse me. So in that moment, you don't know, when you start to cry, you don't know. It just comes. It's not like you're planning it, and then you can't stop it.
Yes.
Were you okay with it, or were you frightened to death? Because depended on what I was doing, where I was either okay with it or frightened.
I was okay with it. It was real. That's how I felt. It wasn't the only time I cried yesterday. And there are a lot of things to be sad about. I mean, I have trouble getting through a range of stories these days. I'm a feeler. It sits on my arms about all of the things. And I think in this moment, I try to hold it together to storytell on the show. And I try not to make everything seem like it's a 5-alarm fire, because then nothing is. Right. But there are moments where I feel genuine outrage and sadness. And I think it's okay to let it show.
Well, Jen Psaki, you are always in my prayers. And in
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. And God bless you. And I accept your prayers as well. Thank you so much for appearing on the Don Lemon Show. We'll see you soon. We'll be watching tonight.
Thanks everyone for watching. Your support means the world to us. So make sure you hit the like button and you subscribe to our channel to make sure that you never ever miss a video. We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern time. We drop even more content at 2 p.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. Eastern. And if you want more Don Lemon Show content, we'd love for you to become a member of the Lemon community, where you will receive access to special community posts. You'll get exclusive content and members-only live shows. So head over to our channel page or click the join button on this video. Again, thank you for watching. We appreciate your love and your support, and we will see you next time.